Have you found yourself struggling between that journey of reaching your goals and the responsibilities that you feel you owe to other people? Have you ever felt guilty when it comes to choosing things that serve you and will take you closer to your goals, but you feel you might be leaving other people out, be it your family, work, relationship? If you've ever struggled with that guilt, then what you need to develop is a freedom mindset, and I'll tell you how to do that in this video. So if you're juggling work, you're juggling family, juggling a business, there's lots that come up for you and you're being pulled in multiple directions. And sometimes you can feel that guilt of, how do I make choices that serve me when there are other people who might expect to come first? How do you make those decisions without the guilt? That's where the freedom mindset comes in. So in order to understand the freedom mindset, you literally have to go back to the definitions. So I'm going to read what the definition of freedom is. And it says, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants, the absence of necessity, coercion, or restraint in choice or action. So that is making choices from a place where you are in charge, not because you are being forced to or because you feel you have to. It's because you want to make those choices. But then you'll get the argument, well, Rachel, we can't be free because we've been socialized and you don't even know if your values are right because your values have been passed down to you from your parents and your parents' parents and all the other ways that you've been socialized through school and through religion and everything like that. And yes, you are right. We have been heavily socialized from birth. Everything from the name we were given to sometimes even our favorite color was probably based on how we were conditioned from birth. But as we grow, we have the ability to choose different things based on our exposure. So as much as many of the things that we may like come from what our conditioning was and what our socializing was, we still have options, and there are some basic things that we can choose ourselves. And the ones that we struggle on are usually the ones where we're told you can't do this because you're a woman. You can't do this because you're from this particular area. You can't do this because you belong to this family and this is the name that you carry. You can't do this because you're a mum. Who says? All of those you can't do these because are things that I call prescriptions. Conditioning, socialization, prescriptions. And prescriptions are basically things that people put on you and you drink it up because that's what you've been told. Prescriptions put limitations on what you can do. You're not good enough. You can only do this because. And it's up to us when we take stock and inventory of our lives as to whether or not we want to keep cashing in on those prescriptions. There's a saying in the Caribbean, you're drinking medicine for other people's fever. If you're from Grenada, it'll be you're drinking bush for other people's fever. But that means that somebody else is going through something and you're taking it on as if it's yours. However, the same can be said when it comes to how we live our lives. If we're living it through someone else decided that because they have some controls, and it's as if your limbs are attached to their fingers, that because they say you can't do this, you can't do this. And then you start living your life based on the prescription that they've handed to you. This could in turn affect things like the way you live, what you do for work, and whether or not the goals that you've had that you really want to fulfill come to fruition or not. This doesn't mean that you don't compromise, but it does show you that you have options. And with a freedom mindset, you start looking at which options you want. Let me go back to the definitions. So we've explored what freedom is. Mindset is a set of beliefs that govern, shape, and influence how you think, feel, and behave. So we spoke about the way that we were socialized, and a lot of the things that we see as being our values and what we like and what we stand for are things that have kind of been instilled in us. However, when you take the freedom and you add the mindset, that's where you get the freedom mindset. And that's when you start making the choices that serve you. Because a freedom mindset is when your thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned with your intentional goals and purpose. And one of the key words there is intentional, because until you start working from a place of intent, when you are actively choosing what you see as your values, what you place as your priorities, then you will not be working from a freedom mindset. It's about being intentional in your thoughts, your behaviors, and your actions so that it brings you in alignment to your goals and your purpose. And it's really important that we have a freedom mindset, because without it, we are totally constrained. If we're not actively choosing what we want and how we want to live, we are literally just marching along to the beat of somebody else's drum. Let's make our own music. When you have different goals and purposes, for example, you want to start your business, means that you'll stay in a 9 to 5 until you retire and think, what if? What if? And a freedom mindset is important because without it, we live a scripted and constricted life. If you're here listening to this video, there's other things you want to do besides stay in the 9 to 5 until you retire or burn out. The way that we live without a freedom mindset means that even things when it comes to our health, we have to be mindful about what we take in, whether it's through the food we eat or what we listen to in terms of music, the conversations that we have. What are we taking in and how is it serving us? When it comes to our health, many times we're just kept sick enough that we keep going back, but well enough that we stay on the corporate treadmill. Is that what you want? And then our relationships, we think we all want a relationship, but we have this cookie cutter press out of what it should be. And there are so many hurt people continually hurting people. Making choices that serve you means that you will be living an intentional life, a life with purpose. And there are the constrictions, and those constrictions that I spoke about before, and what you can and can't do because of race, religion, gender, all of those prescriptions influences your decisions, and you have to be clear about what sources of information you are using in order to make the decisions about your life. This is about living a purposeful life, not someone else pulling your strings. When you haven't developed the freedom mindset, you cannot be transparent and you cannot be authentic in how you present. Sometimes we have these great goals and we have these ideas of things that we want to do, but because we are living under those prescriptions, we have to hide them. When what we need to be doing is uncovering what our true potential is. Not developing that freedom mindset also means that we are forever seeking validation from others. Because many a times, the reason why we don't go after our goals is because we haven't had the approval from someone else to do it. We haven't had the, oh yes, you can do that. That fits within what we want for you. And our dreams and goals die because we have sought other people's permission to do the things that we can naturally do. And what that does, it has us living under a cloud of fear, shame, and guilt. So what's needed is that shift of vibration from a scripted life, ditch those prescriptions, into an intentional life. So let's look at how you get and maintain a freedom mindset. First thing you have to do is take inventory. Take stock. Pen and paper. You're going to hear that in nearly every video. Get your journals out, get a notebook and pen, and write down what it is you want to do. You might not have done it yet. You might not have taken those steps. What is it you're scared of? Whose approval are you seeking? Who do you think is looking at you? And guess what? They're not looking at you, you know. But who do you think is looking at you that you think, oh, I can't do that because this person is going to think, write all of that stuff down. Take inventory on what blockages you've had in your way, what stumbling blocks you've had in your way. And I want to say what stumbling blocks you've put in your way, but I'm not going to say that. So you didn't just hear that, but yeah, you put stumbling blocks in your way. But we need to take inventory and take stock of the things that have stopped us and really look at, why have I not done that thing? Why is it that I believe certain things? What is it that made me say no? I was speaking to one of my clients recently and I asked her to, paint me this picture of what her ideal life would be. And she had all of this stuff in there, but it didn't add up with what she was saying about what she wanted to do. And it's kind of strange that sometimes when you have someone in a space and you say, oh, tell me what your ideal, it's very different to what they tell you on a regular basis when they're speaking to you. So that disconnect I listen for. And when I reflected back to her, this is what you're saying you want now. But when we've spoken for how many weeks, you've always spoken about this. So it doesn't match with what you're telling me today. And what she was seeing as her ideal was not hers, it was her mum's. So this is where taking inventory is very important, because we start to look at the things that we think of as being our values, as being the things that we take to be important. Where does it come from? What exactly do you want to do? And this is where you start writing down your goals as goals that you want. This is where you will put your vision board together and put things on there that align with you, not what you think society wants you to do. That if you're successful, you drive this particular car. No, that might not be what you need on your vision board. Taking inventory allows you to separate all the noise and help you to look at, this is what I want. And if you need help with getting your goals in a format that is manageable, to break it down into steps that are workable, you can download the free workbook that I've put together called the Goal Getter Generator. That will help you pinpoint those things that you see as important so that you can start working on it with intention. The second way to get and maintain a freedom mindset is about building your resilience. Not everyone's going to understand your journey. And sometimes that's the reason why we don't fulfill our goals, because we tell too many people. And when we share news with people, especially something that we want to do, we expect them to come back with, oh, that's great. But many times they don't do that. Many times they come back with, why do you want to do that? And that has stopped me from doing a lot over the years, because you tell your goals and dreams to sometimes people who just aren't interested and can't be bothered whether you succeed or not. So they're just not going to be positive about it. But many times when you share those goals and dreams with those who are close to you, they tell you no, not because they don't want you to succeed, but because they're worried for you. And that's their way of protecting you. And they only feel the need to protect you because they can't see what you see. And that's normal, because it's not their goal and it's not their dream. But what happens is we try to explain what's happening in our head, and we can't, because it was given to us. And we share it with someone who can't see the vision that we see, and they tell us, be careful. And then it dampens our joy. We start thinking, oh, what if? When we already saw it mapped out in front of us, we could already see it, touch it, smell it, feel it. But someone else came and threw a bucket of water on it because they couldn't see it the way you did. This is one of the things that resilience helps with, because you will go through difficult periods when no one will see your vision but you, and you have to keep going. And the way that I explain keeping going is, you know, when you are on an airplane and it's taking off, when it's going down the runway, and then you just feel that change where it's going. And you hear the engines and everything kick in, and you know it's at the point of no return. What would happen if the pilot, I was going to say, took his feet off the gas? I don't think it's a gas pedal. But what if the pilot just kind of eased up? Do you think it will get off the ground? We know it wouldn't. At that point, when he's at the bottom of that runway and he's just like, we're going, you have to keep it going. Otherwise, how else would you become airborne? It's the same way with us. We will hear the, I don't think you should do it. I think you should wait. Are you sure it's going to work? When you hear all of that stuff, you have to keep going. Otherwise, you're going to crash, and it might be harder to get back up and do it again. You have to be resilient when it comes to maintaining a freedom mindset. And the third way to not just get, but maintain a freedom mindset is to own your story and to own your journey. Two of the things that keep us stuck and stop us from moving forward is shame and guilt. And sometimes we're so embarrassed about those parts of our journey that we feel we can't speak about them, and they really do keep us back. So who am I to think that I can do this based on where I've come from? Who cares? It's your journey and your story, and without it, where would you have been? Would you be where you are now? Shame and guilt holds us in places for too long, and I know that so well. I've been in jobs and I've been in relationships, that's a whole other video, for longer than I should have been because of shame and guilt. And then when you come out of those, you still find it difficult to move forward because of shame and guilt. Own your story. Own your journey, because without those, you would never be the person you are today. So those are my ways of getting and maintaining and owning a freedom mindset so you can go out there with your bad self. We have one life to live. We have one shot at this. So let us live it. Let us stand in our power so we can start living a life that we design rather than the one prescribed. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if it resonated with you, tell me how you liked it and then share it to somebody else. But if this really did resonate with you, I'd like to find out what other topics and issues you'd like us to speak about on here. So thanks for watching, and until the next video, bye.